Hey, I wasn't gonna do a stream today, and then I saw something I kind of wanted to talk about before I forget. Uh, okay, I'm actually be able to see your chat in theory. I'm on Twitter or Twitch, and Taylor Javaw is painting her boobs again. It's looking pretty good. Mira's looking really good. Iskel's playing Minecraft, but he's not playing Hermitcraft. Bob Ross is painting away. Gonzabella is looking really good in like a black and white top. You can only see her from like the boobs up, so I don't know. Berticus is looking good. She's dressed real casually, but she's still looking good. Kaylin is looking good, but I think she's got something on. I don't want to say anything. I'm just gonna say I think she's wearing padding or something because I've seen her before, and this looks bigger. I don't know. Cinderella's looking good. Carabines. Oh, Carabines is looking really good today. Chicken Wing Candy is looking okay, but she's definitely looked better. Sagittariana Official is looking really good. She's got an outfit on where you can, I think she's got tattoos you can see. And then Schrodo Baggins, I went in and lurked. I wish I could, I don't have my computer. Now that I'm getting a little more back to normal, I don't really have a good place to put it, but if I can figure it out, I will bring my computer down here and get it set up. I really don't have the room for it where I'm at, but I'd like to get my computer down here so I can do what I used to do where I have a couple pages open lurking. Because right now I can either have this open for me or I can have it open watching him. But his channel's up. Good streamer. And here we go. I am available. Not that anybody's going to do it, but I am available for chat. Okay, now I uh, I actually like this. It isn't exactly, but I actually like this. And then I gotta figure out the sides a little bit. I think for right now, what I'm gonna use is black. And okay, what I'm gonna do. Uh, I might not be able to do it on stream because I either that or I'm gonna have to go farm emeralds because I tried doing that and every now and then when I go over there and I come out of peaceful, it will not. That was weird. It will not give me any of those little guys with the banner captains, the pillager captains with the banner that'll give you the bad omen. I sat there for a half an hour, didn't get one flag or one banner. And so I kind of had to give up. And then I had to go feed the cats, and then I ate, and here I am now. Uh, so it is what it is. I'm not mad, but they just don't come out. I even left the area and came back. That sometimes resets it if you leave to where it unloads and loads back in. And then other times, in the course of one raid, I'll get one to start the raid, and I'll get two or three more. So I don't know. But the call to action, um, I just want to say I'm going to give you two of them today. Basically, until I die, the call to action you're going to get is write everybody you know that you vote for. Shout out to them on Twitter, etc. Basically, ask them to legalize assisted suicide. We just had another one. There was another mass shooting down in Florida. I think somebody said there's well over 400 for the year mass shootings. There's 352 days in a year. I think. I think it's I think it's like 352 days in a year or something like that. We've already got more than one mass shooting a day. Pretty soon we will have one mass shooting in the U.S. When we might get there before the end of the year, we still got 3, 4, 5 months left. We might have one mass shooting for every member of Congress, or at least every member of the House. We've got four for each member of the Senate. And if we can stand around with our thumbs up our ass and watch kids getting killed in school, people getting killed at grocery stores and synagogues and all the other bullshit that's going on, we can allow assisted suicide to help out people like me that are really really sick and people that are dying, which I may eventually. I don't know if it's going to be like next year, 5 years, 20 years, but I'm going to get there unless somebody finds some kind of a magical cure, unless, Hermione comes with her wand and does an Expelliarmus or whatever and fucking heals me, or they send me to that fucking nurse in the fucking Hogwarts hospital. It's just a matter of time, unless they find some secret to science. And I just want better options. And really, we're sitting around watching people die. People that don't want, the people that, don't want this. We've seen it where people are in the hospital dying and their family members do not want them to die. And the insurance companies and the hospitals go to court so they can pull the plug on this person because they don't want to pay the bills. Life only matters as long as you can pay for it. Well, I can't pay for it. I can't work. Um, Even if I do get on disability, it is not going to pay me anywhere close to what I was making when I could work. I mean, it's just not. It's not going to pay me overtime. I mean, I even had grievances settled where management had screwed me out of overtime, and it's just not going to do it. And I think people like me should have that choice. I don't think we should be forced upon by a bunch of fucking religious nuts over this shit. I really don't. And if that offends you, I'm sorry, but we should have that choice. And then the other one, and this one here again, if you don't, it's like the first one. If you don't want to do it, we can still be friends. I don't think it's a. I think it's a little more of a deal breaker than the first one. The assisted suicide. I can see why people might not want to write on moral. I can see why you might have those opinions. And even if I don't agree with them, I can at least somewhat respect them. And this one here, I would say, is sort of in that camp a little bit at least. But but I think it's a little more of a deal breaker than the assisted suicide one that you should. Hang on. But write your elected Congress people. And I would say at least at the federal level, maybe not at the state level. Although, if you've got someone who you think is a pretty decent, maybe write them too, and then they can lean on the federal government a little bit. Same thing with your governor. I don't think there's a lot that the people at the state can do on this. Uh, I just don't. It has to come from the top down. But ask them to pass Chuck Schumer and I think both of them have bipartisan support. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think they've got the one ready in the Senate. They just need it. They just basically need it in the House. But basically, ask them to pass Senator Chuck Schumer, who's the majority leader in the Senate, and Christian Gillibrand. Ask them to pass their amendments on UAPs. because um, I watched a podcast this morning. It's the Need to Know podcast, and I highly recommend if this is anything, and if you're here because of the UFO UAP thing in there, you should go check it out. It's the Need to Know podcast, and when you search it, you want to do like Need to Know Babel. Think it's Babel and or Coulthard. Coulthart. I think is how he spells it. Zabel. Zabel is the other guy. Them are the two hosts of it. And go and watch it. I'm gonna do my level best to kind of piece it together for you. And the first thing I want to say is the American host of the show, not the Australian guy. He recently went over to like Norway or Sweden or something like that. I think it was his son was getting married to a native over there, so he went over for the wedding. Well, he was talking, and this goes back to like 40, like right after World War II. So I'm guessing like, and he told you, and I'm just having trouble remembering it, but I want to say it's like 1946, 47, 48, somewhere. It was like right after World War II. I do remember him saying that. And they were seeing these things they called ghost rockets. And he said that they sent General Doolittle over there, and you may or may not know who he is. He's kind of a hero of World War II. He was the guy that spearheaded the Doolittle raid on Japan. After Pearl Harbor, what he did was he got a team of bomber pilots. They stripped down the bombers and these were the big ones. These were not tactical bombers. These were the big bombers, the flying fortresses. And he stripped them down and he launched them off of aircraft carriers. And it was a one-way mission. It was basically a suicide mission. They went there, they bombed the shit out of Japan, and then if possible, they were going to go and crash land in China. And most of them made it. It was because what they wanted to do is they wanted to show Japan that they hit a fringe base on the edge of America. They took a squadron of bombers off of the aircraft carriers and hit the heart of Japan. And that's what they did. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they did. And it was just a brave thing. Well, they sent him over to investigate it, and according to Zabel, this was the report that was written up by the powers that be in that country, that these clearly were not, something about them clearly not being human origin. They didn't seem to belong to any of the allies or enemies. It didn't seem to be coming from human, that they were portraying like really, really strange and unbelievable characteristics. Like modern day, I heard one guy say that the government refers to some of this stuff as WSFM, weird science and frickin' magic, is the way I've heard one guy say that's how the government refers to this stuff. Well, what they were talking about on the podcast. Well, and then, this is towards the end of the podcast. So if you're interested in what I just talked about, you either gotta skip or you gotta hang in there for the whole podcast. But he said this is the weird thing. Like back then, they know China didn't have a military. They didn't have an air force. Russia didn't have much of an air force. And yet you were seeing reporting after World War II, after Japan and Germany had been defeated, you were seeing reporting that is very, very similar to what we're seeing today. And you've got people now trying to blame it. Oh, well, it's us or it's another nation. I would say there might be some validity to the it's us, maybe, but I do think that Representative Tim Burchart is right. Where if we had these things, there's shit we would not be putting up with that we are putting up with right now. And clearly, if Russia had one of those, if Russia had this stuff, they would not be bogged down in Ukraine like they are. If China had them, they would not be putting up with our bullshit like they are. It's unbelievable that people think that this is our stuff. It's just totally unbelievable. And I might have to wait. Oh no, I can get. I want to make a couple trips here. But I'll go turn these back and I'll turn the emeralds back into blocks. But what Coulthard is hearing is there might be getting some pushback in Congress. And he said what happens is these senators, and it's happened before, they talk a good game, and then the next thing you know, they're visited by people in suits, and then they back off. And he's afraid that's what's happening now. Apparently, there's one congressman, and I can't think of the guy's name, but if you figure out where Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I am, I think they said Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is in his district. And he's someone that's pushing back, does not want disclosure, does not want to know the truth. They're probably threatening him contracts, or they're probably threatening that they're going to have to move the base out of his district, which would be a financial blow. But he's like, well, if we go digging around, we're going to hurt the military. Well, it's kind of like Donald Trump. It's kind of like the Republican Party. If it's going to make them look bad, then they probably did something wrong. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. If we have this investigation into Trump, and there are members of Congress that look bad, well, guess what? They look bad. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to leave that. I could have put that one there, or I could have put that one there. I don't care. I can always fix it later. I just want to see what it looks like. I'm probably gonna, for right now, I'm just gonna leave it, but I'm gonna probably have to move these, and that's okay because I built that other. Oh, I'm out of them anyways. But they I might do that. I might move that one back because that actually doesn't look too bad. Neither side looks bad. I don't know. I think I might do the other side the same as this one. That looks good. 2, 2, and 1. Maybe I came out one too far. No, that third one on there, I just need to put back, and then they'll both be the same. I might do that. But I can't remember if I think I talked about this, but that Tim Burchett, he sounded a little depressed. He really did, and but he was basically saying that he's not sure some of this stuff is happening because he's reached out to the speaker, and it was a few days or a week or so that had gone by, and he's like, well, the speaker hasn't gotten back to me yet. So you've got, these guys, some of the shit that they will do that's just candy ass, they'll do. It's an abuse of power. It's a waste of fucking time. It might even be criminal. It's at least immoral, and they'll do it. But something here that they're trying to get to the bottom of something. Oh, he's not getting back to me. They might not be able to do that. It's just totally fucking spineless. And so I don't know, but that's what's going on. So write your elected officials and tell them to pass Gillibrand's and Chuck Schumer's amendments on UAPs and UFOs. I think Gillibrand wrote one that will go in the Intelligence Authorization Act, and the one Schumer wrote will go in the Defense Authorization. These are must pass legislations. I think both of them should get passed. Definitely Schumer's. I've heard Coltart thinks that one's pretty good. And hopefully they will get that done. And we can hope. And uh, actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut down trees over this way. And but that's the thing. He thinks and this is what he's hearing is that if Chuck Schumer's does not get passed this year, it will likely be years before we have any type of a public disclosure. And the thing that gets me, I'm not going to sit and lie to you. I'm not going to say, oh, well, we're going to find out UFOs and yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I literally don't know. I think it's likely, but I can't sit here and say for a fact that yes, there are alien spaceships. We have bodies. We've been in contact with them. We've got some kind of a secret truce that goes back to Truman. Okay? I can't say that because I don't know. I don't know that it's true. And I don't even suspect some of it's true, but I do think we found UFOs. I do think we found other technology, and I do think we found bodies. And the main reason why I think that much is true is because the military told us this. Like, after Roswell, they said, yes, we recovered aliens, we recovered a craft. And there was a FBI memo written to J. Edgar Hoover, and the agent basically said, this is on the FBI website, look for the hotel memo, HOTEL. Um, he basically wrote the director that the people he had talked to said that they recovered craft. And I think it said they recovered bodies. And I don't know what to say, but Hoover, somebody reporting to Hoover, I don't think would have lied about that. Because if Hoover caught him lying, it would, probably be the end of their fucking career, maybe even the end of their life. I just don't think Hoover would have tolerated that kind of shit. And but here's the thing. You can go back to the Bush administration. Whether I don't care if you liked them, hated them, I don't. But it is a fact, and I kind of put this up on my Threads account. It is a fact that every time they have audited the Pentagon, they fail the audit. And I think Burchett said every time they've been audited, there's like more than $1 billion that they can't account for. Well, I can think of a billion reasons why they need to audit the Pentagon because they can't pass a fucking audit. I can see why they should investigate this because they can't pass a fucking audit. It's a fact that we had a sitting president, a hero from World War II, the guy that led the Allied forces in World War II, Eisenhower. This is a guy, when he left office, he warned us about the industrial military complex. And I think what he warned us about, or tried to warn us about, has come true. Again, I can give you a billion reasons why I think Eisenhower might have been right. I can give you a billion reasons a year why we should maybe want to get to the bottom of this. I don't think I'm being ridiculous. I don't think I'm overreacting. I can give you a billion reasons every year why we should be auditing this shit, why we should be demanding answers, why we should be taking UFOs away from the military and giving it a civilian group to keep an eye on the military and the intelligence community. I can give you a billion reasons every year why this shit should be happening. It's not that hard to figure out. And we had witnesses that come forward. This is a fact. We had witnesses that came forward under oath and told us this shit was true. You know, they could go to jail like Martha Stewart did if they lied about this. If you can prove that they're lying, and at least the one guy, David Grush, he was interviewed by an inspector general. He was interviewed. He basically told an inspector general, and that inspector general, after hearing what he's been talking about in and out of Congress, told Congress, what he's telling me is credible. You should get to the bottom of it. So he was able, and this inspector general that he talked to, at least one of the ones that he talked to, had the security clearance to get to the bottom of this shit. Stuff we don't know. Stuff he couldn't tell Congress in an open session. And that inspector general looked at it and said, yeah, this shit's credible. You should get to the bottom of it. And again, when they talk about these guys failing it out, I can give you a billion reasons why we should maybe do this. I mean, if nothing else, we are at Iran-Contra levels of crime. Things that they convicted people and did send them to jail for until they got out on a technicality. I'm not even sure it should have been legitimate because somebody tried that with General Flynn. They said, "Oh, well, you can't accuse him of lying to the FBI. Nobody told him it was illegal to lie to the FBI." Well, apparently nobody told these people that they could plead the fifth. So they basically testified in front of Congress, and then they argued, they had lawyers appeal it. You know, when they got convicted and sent to jail, they had people appeal it and said, "Oh, well, they were told to testify." And so they basically were forced to give up their Fifth Amendment right against so that, you know, they can't be, you know, basically they have immunity now because they weren't told that they could. Well, I'm sorry, they had lawyers. They should have went to jail and they should have told them, hey, you're lawyers, you can sue them for being bad. You know, maybe they should have been able to plead incompetent defense or something like that. But if these people didn't know that I'm thinking maybe they shouldn't get that immunity, but they did. But we're at Iran-Contra levels of crime here. I'm sorry, this needs to be looked at. It is wrong. And, you know, but that was something that was testified to, again, under oath, under the penalty of contempt of Congress or perjury or whatever you want to call it. The one guy said, he goes, well, yeah, you know, what they're doing is they're taking money that's been, you know, set aside for something else and they're using it for something that it was not intended to. They're using it for things that are being kept from Congress. This is Iran-Contra levels of criminal activity. They need to get to the bottom of it. And again, I don't know what they're going to find. Maybe they're going to find ET. Maybe they're going to find some corrupt fucking thing where they are making it look like it's ET so that they have an excuse to steal all this money from the budget and use it on covert things. I'm sorry. They need to get to the bottom of this. The thing that gets me is I was watching that TV show Blacklist, and one of the things they talked about, and I can't remember it was one of the later seasons, but not like the last couple seasons. I still got like one or two seasons to watch. I kind of quit watching it when his daughter or whatever got killed because the whole thing was it looked like they were grooming her to take over for the Blacklist guy. And when they killed her, that really was I was sad. I'm sorry. That bothered me. But I got a seen her being wounded. Maybe they'll bring her back. Maybe the whole thing was set up to get her to hide or something. I don't know. But that bothered me when they killed her off. Okay. Well, like one of the things they talked about in there was how for this stuff that's on the black budget, Congress doesn't even know what it is. They're just basically voting on this stuff. Well, if that guy's telling the truth, well then what's happening is there is stuff that they're not even going to those links to hide. They're just flat out lying. They're not going to Congress going, "Oh, well, here's a covert budget that we can't tell you about." They're lying to Congress. They're like, "Oh, well, yeah, here's some money for X, Y, and Z, and we're going to use it for ABC." Uh, and and that again, that was and like again, the inspector general listened to this guy's testimony and told Congress this is credible. You need to get to it. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I gotta say I really hope Congress does the right thing. I sincerely hope. Oh, we're gonna hold on a second. Okay. Ooh. But yeah, that was the thing, you know. So he was keeping you up to date. He's like, hey, look, what I'm hearing is if this doesn't get passed, it likely is going to be years. So I really hope they pass it. And this is the thing, I don't know what to make of it. You've got people that I am positive are just shitty people, like that Matt Gaetz. I he basically seems to have gotten the Jeffrey Epstein treatment because and we didn't even know everything, but what we know, it looks like it was a slam dunk case for him like trafficking minors, and they didn't prosecute him. It looked like they had a fucking slam dunk case on that, and he seemed to get a deal like Jeffrey Epstein did, where they're not going to prosecute him. I don't understand it. I literally don't understand it. But but yeah, he seems to be, you know, reasonable at least. I don't know if that's the appropriate word, but on the UFO thing. And this guy that's running for president, this Vivaswamy guy or whatever it is, he seems like a completely creepy piece of shit. But like some of the stuff he said, you know, seems. I think he'd be horrible if he actually got in as president. There's some talk that the whole reason he's running is so that he can avoid getting sued. It sounds like he's got some fucking lawsuits or something, and I don't know if it's, you know, grabbing by the pussy related or got to do with his pharmaceutical life or something like that. But it sounds like, and he seems to be a favorite of Putin, so he's like Trump 2.0. So I hope he doesn't get in, but fucking A, man. Some of the stuff he said makes an awful lot of sense. But yeah, I really recommend you go check that out. But again, they were just talking about the issue. Uh, Unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. But that's the part that just blows me away. And again, um, I think what we're seeing, you can visibly see it. And this is what I kind of mentioned to them because they were talking about this too. You know, you had this guy come forward and he's very credible. The inspector general backs him up. Members of Congress, they're like, I don't know what to say, but you know, we've got other people that are coming forward, and some of these people from Congress, they're like, well, yeah, we've had people come to us before trying to tell us this stuff, and now we actually got people that might be credible to pull it off, you know, to let us know. And then what happens is the one guy that comes forward, they they leaked that he's got PTSD and he might not be credible because he was trying to kill himself and blah blah blah. And well, I think they said 1 in 5 people come back from the military with PTSD. It is a common thing. When you send people into horrible fucking situations, it happens with cops, it happens with firemen. Your therapist, that you go to for help, they are above the curve in needing mental health help. It's a normal thing. It's part of the circle of life. When people have to deal with horrible shit, it affects them. They sometimes get damaged. When you look at me, as far as I can tell, I got drugged or poisoned for, basically, at least morally being a whistleblower on some fucking crazy shit that was going on. And, that has had an effect. I would be lying if I told you it didn't. That has had an effect. You go through horrible shit, you get damaged. And that damage leaves a mark. It has an effect. And I don't know how else to put it, but how is that not witness tampering? How is that not obstruction of justice? How is that not obstruction of Congress? One of the things that they're putting some of these January 6 people in jail for is stopping Congress from doing their job. How is this not the same thing? And what they were talking about is because he initially did the report. He initially did the report that the police or the sheriff's department told them that they did not turn over any information, so it had to come from somewhere else. Well, the only other place that has that is the intelligence community. So that was something that Ross was saying that yes, apparently the intelligence community did this. Well, then what you find out is that he was lied to by the sheriff's department, or they had a mix up because they are the ones that did it. But it also came out that this online tabloid that did the story, this is the same one. This is the same, I would say, unreliable news source that was dealing with Snowden in selling out our fucking country. I'm going to get up on the soapbox for a minute. I wish I had one and my ankle was better. I'd stand up on it. But, Snowden was a piece of shit in my opinion because he could have came forward and just leaked that the Bush administration or whatever was spying on us, which was illegal without a court order. It was illegal. He could have done that, and you know what? I would have a different viewpoint on him. But he fucking told everything. He wasn't there to set things right. He wasn't there to be some moral authority. He was out there sabotaging our government. Probably to make Putin happy, for all I know. I really don't know, but it just, he could have went out and just talked about what they were doing to us. He didn't have to give sources and methods, but he went out there and he told the world that we were spying on allies. He told them we were spying on enemies. So the people we were spying on that were friends were now upset. Maybe not. Maybe they understood it, but they potentially could have been upset, could have harmed our foreign policy. And the people that we didn't like, they now were worried. They knew. So they could start checking. It was kind of like when the Bush administration outed Valerie Plame for being like, like the one guy explained it. He goes, I was CIA, but he goes, when I was out there, they knew I was the government. He goes, I would go there as a State Department official or the Energy Committee. they might have suspected, but they knew he was with the U.S. government. He didn't go around saying I'm CIA and I'm here to fuck with you. He would go there as a State Department official or something else and spy on him. That Valerie Plame, she would go. She was like a real life James Bond. She would go as a business person, and when they outed her, they damaged our intelligence for at least a decade or more. My understanding is. I'm not an expert on it, but that's the people that are. That's one of the figures at least a decade, maybe longer, because now they knew she was CIA. They looked at everybody she met with, and they probably put assets' lives at risk. People that, she flipped and were using as a source or whatever, they were likely harmed. Some of them might have even disappeared, might have lost their job. And this was the price for Republican politics. We can't afford this shit. We really can't afford this shit. And because that was the thing. He said, "Well, yeah, I was undercover," but he goes, "With her, they didn't even pretend that she was with the government. That's how deep her cover was." And so I don't know. Yeah, write them, ask them to get on this. Because this was the thing he said. He goes, and this is the other thing they kind of talked about. They go, if there isn't overwhelming support, they're not going to do it. And here's the thing. I got to be completely honest. If you have a horrible candidate like that Vivishwamy guy, who's gung ho for this, or a Matt Gaetz, I'm sorry. I would rather see you vote for somebody who isn't supportive of this than put one of them in office. I think our kids come first. So with Matt Gaetz, I really hope. I mean, and again, she could be the biggest disbeliever. She could be the biggest enemy to disclosure. I really hope she defeats that child molester, because well, and maybe child's the wrong word, but he had sex with those underage girls. He was human trafficking them. And I'm sorry, he needs to get out of office. And I'm sorry, but whoever, and I don't care if it's Garland or somebody else, whoever let him off the hook when it looks like they had him dead to rights, they should maybe be charged as an accessory after the fact. I'm sorry. The fact that that guy did not get... They want to go after Hunter Biden for the shit that he did, which really isn't that bad. I mean, it's minor shit. There's some prosecutors said he wouldn't even be getting charged if he wasn't Biden's kid. That this is something that would have been handled by a part, like a fine or something. Uh, that this just would not have been a thing if he wasn't the president's kid. And they let that piece of shit go for what he did to underage girls. I'm sorry, that's just wrong. If it turns out that there were people in the Bush or Trump administration that fuck things up. Like if Barr worked some magic to where it was unprosecutable, well then him or the one responsible should be nailed as an accessory after the fact. I'm sorry, it's just wrong. You need to send a message going forward that Republican or Democrat, if you've got somebody that's doing this to kids, I don't care who their daddy is in Florida politics. I don't care how many fucking friends they have. You put that son of a bitch in jail. You absolutely put that son of a bitch in jail. But that's the part that gets me. You see this party, and this is a guy that was hired by Trump. I don't, you might be able to blame it on both parties, because God knows, sounds like Clinton was involved in the guy. But that Alan Dershowitz, a Trump buddy, he he was famously getting massages from these underage girls. That fucking piece of shit. And then he's like, oh, well, yeah, I had my underwear on and blah 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 blah. Well, then why were you there? Why were you there, sicko? Um, it's just wrong. They need to do this. This just needs to get taken care of. It's just wrong. But so I wouldn't vote for a piece of shit just because they're for disclosure. And I don't know. It it's sad. It really is sad. But they said, yeah, there's pushback on it. But if we don't get, and he specifically mentioned the Schumer one, he said that one to him looks really good. And he said if we don't get it passed this year, um, it might set things back for years. And I don't know why if it isn't done this year, it can't be done next year. But he said these are usually passed near the end of the year, and it sounds like there's momentum right now. So if we can get them to pass it right now, we might be good. I think he's worried that if we let the powers that be entrench on this, they'll be able, it'll be like digging foxholes. They're going to entrench their position, they're going to make it harder to get anything done. So, please write everybody you vote for in Washington, from the president on down. Even if you don't vote for Biden, basically tell them to get on board with this. You can Google email the president. They will take you right to this fucking website where you can shoot him an email. If I don't care what social media, I don't care if it's Facebook, I don't care if it's Twitter, I don't care if it's Threads. If the people you are voting for have a space on there, whichever one you use, don't go to ones you don't use, but the ones you use, get on there and give them a shout out and say, hey, you need to get on this. You need to support Gillibrand's amendment. You need to support Chuck Schumer's amendment. You need to get these passed. Hashtag disclosure now. Get that done. And again, talking to these guys, I can give you a billion reasons a year roughly why you should. Regardless of how you feel about UFOs, it is pretty clear that millions and billions of dollars come up missing in the black hole that we call the Pentagon. And I'm sorry, it's bad enough that they spend the money they do on shit, but the fact that they can't keep track of it, again, we had a sitting president that talked about the military industrial complex. He warned us about them as they left office. And if you want to have fun, tell them that they tell the president and everybody else they need to audit the gold in the treasury. If you do that, they're probably going to think you're nuts. But my understanding is Harry Truman was the last president that actually toured the Treasury, the Fort Knox, the Treasury Department. I'm not kidding. They'll probably think you're nuts, but I just find it funny. And if you don't, if you think it's serious, then by all means ask them. It's supposed to be the gold repository. I don't think I really don't know, but I don't think there's anything weird going on. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with having like audits. I don't think the military audits are for the Pentagon. I don't think audits of the CIA are a bad idea. If they're spending our money, I really don't think audits are a bad thing. I think they should be able to pass those audits too. When I was in high school, I worked for retail companies before I got into factory work. I had to balance my cash register every night. Like if I was the last one there, I had to balance my register. If there was money short, I had to account for it. Mine never was. But I'm just saying, that was a thing that had to be done. And, I didn't have nuclear weapons. I didn't have military weapons. And if I had to do it working for a, retail supplier, I think the military should have to do it too. I think that there is a good reason. Again, I can give you a billion reasons why they should be held accountable. I'm sorry if they can't pass if they can't pass an audit, then I think some people need to go. I think they need to explain where that, because this happened over in Iraq. And you look at the shit that was going on over there where, like fucking, we're not talking like a couple bucks here and there. We're talking about like truckloads of cash just vanished. Like they had like millions of dollars stacked up. Like if you've ever been in a factory where they have like a skid with shit stacked on it, wrapped in shrink wrap, most of you have either seen it on TV or you work somewhere or walk by somewhere where they had it. They had like fucking skids of money fucking vanish. I mean, they had enough money regularly go missing in Iraq that this was not something you could have just stuck in your pocket or carried around in a briefcase. This was a shit you needed fucking trucks to haul away. Like God, I can't think of the movie. I think it might have been called Three Kings or something like that. It had George Clooney, I think, was in it. And these guys went and stole some money that had gotten missing or something like that, and they found it. Well, shit, they fucking needed more trucks. Like they showed you how bad it was. I think they lowballed it. From what I remember, when they lowballed it, they would have needed more truckloads to haul all that shit away. There was another one, and this one here I can't remember the name of. I watched it a little more recently, and but it had Ben Affleck in it, and he's the main guy that I saw in there. There were other good people in it, but he's the one that I can remember. They had kind of an all-star cast in there. Well, they were all ex-military. I think they either were or used to be military contractors. And they were going to go steal money from like some European drug lords or whatever. And there should only be one movie like this. They got to the place and they had it all worked out. They had a cargo. They had like one of those big heavy lift cargo planes. They had vehicles to get it to not planes, but helicopters. I don't think I think it was a helicopter. It might have actually been a cargo plane, but they had a big old fucking cargo airlift. They had the vehicles, and they couldn't find the money. They got there, they couldn't find it. Well, somebody figured out it was actually in the walls, so they started ripping the walls apart to get the money. And then when they got done, they set the whole place on fire. Well, there was so much money there that this big ass airlift was like barely able to take off. And then they got to a point where they had to start throwing money off the fucking plane so they could get enough lift to go over the mountains because they were going over like the Alps or something like that. And oh my God, this is what we're talking about. You know, there was so much money that came up missing when we were in Iraq under Bush that, you know, if you went to try and steal it, you probably could not arrange for enough transportation to move it by air, land, or sea. Maybe by sea if you had one of those big Shield from the TV show Shield. If you had one of their big cargo cruisers or something like that, you could maybe fit it in there. But that's how much shit was regularly going missing. That, you know, if you tried to steal it, you probably couldn't get the equipment together to fucking steal it. And that's what we're talking about here. Like when you're talking like $1 billion, even if they're all in $100 bills, you're talking about a shitload of money. This is not something you could easily, easily fucking lift and steal and walk away with. Okay. I want to go basically look for a place to use this wood. But yeah, seriously, I'm getting lightheaded. I might end the stream pretty quick. I'll deal with this as much as I can before I give up. Um, might try and wrangle some emeralds. Uh, yeah, I think I'm gonna end the stream and go hunt some emeralds and shit. I but fucking a man, that really got me though when I was watching that this morning. So yeah, go check out the whole podcast. I'm pretty sure I missed stuff on it. But write your Congress, if you don't mind, write your congressman, let them know, legalize assisted suicide, and make sure that bill gets passed, those amendments. Let's, again, I don't think we're going to get full disclosure, but I think they need to pass that. And if there's congressmen that are worried that people in the Department of Defense or intelligence are going to be embarrassed, well, good, let them be embarrassed. Maybe they'll stop fucking up. And if they did something illegal, put them in jail. You know, we learned this the hard way with President Trump. We didn't learn it with Bush. We didn't learn it with Nixon. If you keep letting these people get away, oh, well, just one more time. You know, if you're like that fucking dingbat senator from Maine or whatever out there, oh, I think President Trump has learned his lesson this time. You know, that fucking dingbat. No, he never learned. If he gets in there again, he'll do it again or he'll do worse. And it's the same way with the military. It's the same way with the intelligence community. If you don't hold them accountable, it's never going to end. They will do it again. Hey, you let us get away with it for the last 3 or 4 decades. Why not one or two more? You know, we'll get there eventually. Um, yeah, just please. I don't know. Just write them, get them on board if you can. If you don't mind, help out. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a really, really good day.